Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Deckinaround. My name is Tyler,
I am Steve.
and we're really actually excited to have you guys here tonight. We have a great guest coming up in a few minutes. Before we jump into that, I just wanted to give a quick shout out to some of the decks that funded this week on Kickstarter. Started off was the Arcadia Signature Edition deck, which I know both Steve and I were big advocates of. It's an awesome looking deck. Really excited to see that fun this week. We have the Trident and the Sword deck, which was from Kevin Liu, right? Kevin
Yep.
Yu, yep, who popped up. That was an awesome
Kevin
looking
Yu.
Kevin Yu, yep, with the really cool expanding tuck. I'm sure a lot of you backed that and saw that crazy looking deck, orange and black, and an awesome blue and black. So definitely check that out. The Slavic mythology deck funded this week, and then the Tarot of Vlad Dracula funded also, which was actually a really cool, like, historical Romanian background deck. So congratulations to those decks that funded this week. Looking forward to seeing a lot more decks coming up in the next couple weeks as everything funds. And for tonight's
Yeah.
guest, we are super excited, everybody, to welcome Mikayla Oz.
Sweet.
Mikayla.
Hey, what's up? I'm so excited to be here.
How you
Thanks for
doing
having
tonight?
On.
So Mikayla, you are a magician, correct?
Yeah, I am. I do magic and comedy and a little bit of everything. So I do a little bit of cardistry. I know a little bit about cards, not as much as probably a lot of you, but magic is really what I do full time. It's what pays the bills. So
Very
maybe
cool.
not right now, but for the most part.
So how did you originally get
Are you
into
a-
magic?
Say that again.
How did you originally get into magic?
Yeah, so I saw a magician when I was 4 years old. I've been doing magic pretty much my whole entire life. And I saw a magician when I was 4 in the library. It's a pretty cliche story. I thought it was the coolest thing in the world. A ton of books on it, and my mom and I would create little magic tricks and started performing in my backyard. And yeah, it kind of stuck from there. So it's really what I kind of fell in love with early on, that or a really early age, that magic is what I wanted to do forever. So I've
Very
just
cool.
kind of stuck with it.
And now you've more
That's pretty cool.
recently become a full-time magician, right?
Yeah, so I went to Iowa State University here in the States, and um, then graduated, and now decided that this is what I want to do. So I've had quite a few opportunities that have come my way that I've been able to do, and it's been really cool. And I'm slowly trying to do it. Like yeah, the whole coronavirus, I think, is hitting all people who are entertainers and the entertainment industry really hard right now. I've had all of my gigs within the next like 4 weeks cancel on me because of this.
That's
But I'm
Uh,
still a magician. I don't have another job, so.
Dang. Yeah, that definitely makes it more difficult to pay the bills when you're not working, right?
Oh, definitely. I had a lot kind of planned, and a couple shows I was really excited about. I was going to do the St. Louis or Magic in the Lou in St. Louis, which is
Oh wow.
yeah, which is kind of like like a show that they're doing. It's about seats about 60 people, and I was really excited for that. I don't think that's going to end up happening. That would be this coming Friday, and then or not this coming, but the following Friday, and I think that's canceled. And then
very cool.
a lot of like live events. So
That's cool.
it's really taking a toll, that's for sure.
So do you usually find that a
Uh,
lot of your events are? I mean, I think when everyone thinks of like a magician, first thing that comes to mind is like kids parties and things like that. But I've also seen you've done a lot of like theater events and corporate events. Do you find that you get a wide
Oh.
variety of ages there?
Yeah, so kind of where I'm at right now is like I kind of do it all right now, which sounds really bad. But I kind of do a little bit of everything. I do birthday parties, and I do kid shows and family events, but I also do corporate events and yeah, corporate events. I'm trying to get into colleges. I would eventually like to do cruise ships. So
Oh,
Very
wow.
cool.
I'm trying to put as many seeds out there as I can right now and make it happen.
That would be very cool.
Yeah, I think
So
I think
it's
the
pretty, um
I think one of the really cool things about your act is that you don't just do magic. You have a lot of comedy that you add to your show, which not every magician does that. So I think it's pretty cool to
Yeah.
see the diversity in your act.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, my act has definitely been something that's been a work in progress, and every single day I think of new things. I really try to make it me as much as I can. I feel like there was a while there where I got into this like slump where I was doing a lot of things that were pretty common and pretty store-bought, and I guess I wanted to get out of that slump of doing things that everybody else is doing. So kind of just the whole creativity process is something I'm always trying to evolve. And I really want to set my show and have it be tied to who I am and represent me as a person. And it's definitely a work in progress, and it's slowly getting there. And of course, with like the kids' birthday, it's hard to do that. But with kind of I'm trying to put together a theater show right now, and I'm going to be doing it at the Indianapolis Fringe Festival in August, and it's going to be really more about me and my story. So
Very cool.
That's cool.
No, that sounds super exciting.
And yeah, and then with the comedy thing, I've been dabbling into stand-up comedy for the past three or 4 years, and stand-up comedy is really unique because it really takes away all of like the premise that magic is so centered around. So to kind of take that away and just be in control of with a microphone in your hands and have people want to listen to you without having props in your hands is something that's really empowering and something that's really cool and something I think I've kind of learned to handle an audience, and it's definitely added to my performer repertoire.
Oh yeah, I can
Very
imagine.
nice. So what's your favorite part
Yeah.
about that audience interaction?
Oh, I feed off the audience. So my show is very like, oh, one person says this thing, and then the next person says this thing. I have little gags that I throw to keep everybody going along, and but yeah, really my favorite thing is just interacting with the audience and trying to have the audience be the star of the show, and have them take something away and feel empowered when they're on stage. But also, I want everybody else to enjoy it as well, and seeing their reactions once they're done, and have them make sure they have a positive experience when they are at a magic show, I think is really important to me.
Yeah, for sure. Do you find yourself enjoying the magic side more or the comedy side more? Like, which is more closer to your heart? I mean, probably a little bit of both, but
Yeah.
do you find yourself leaning more towards one thing, or?
I think it's kind of a battle. I kind of go in this like cycle where I'll really focus on writing new comedy, or I'll really focus on creating new magic, and then it's just the combination of the two, and I think that's kind of the beauty in it, and I think that's kind of what I thrive for, is finding the balance of magic and comedy. And I don't think actually where I'm at right now I've completely found that, and it's a process, and it's fun for me because it challenges me to become better at both. So I don't know if I have one that's favorite. Obviously, I've been doing magic my whole life, so it's what paid for college, and so magic is really near and dear to my heart. And then the kind of the comedy side of it has come more recently. So I think for me, I got so into magic when I was younger that I kind of got burnt out of it for a little bit, and because I used to do a whole act where I would do a bird act where I'd make birds appear and vanish, and then make the whole cage disappear, and I had a whole suit that had I think I had 4 doves in my suit, and it would take 30 minutes to set up, and it was a blast. I loved doing the act for 3 minutes. I'd take 30 minutes to 3-minute act. And
Jeez.
yeah, and so it was during that time, I think I kind of burnt myself out a little bit. So I think when I got to college, it was kind of a place where I could start over, and I could really kind of figure out my character on stage, and that's been really kind of beautiful to watch and try to figure out.
That's cool. Can you like set up some type of, I mean, maybe like a free show at school and try to get people just to come by and check out your stuff? I don't know if there's something like an open mic night type thing or.
Yeah. Can you like expand on that a little bit? Like, what do you mean?
Like, I don't know. I mean, I've been to college events, like, and I know that they have, different groups, whether it's, any group, within campus, if it's a magic group or a reading group or a chess group or something like that. If they have like specific weekly events or monthly events where you can kind of do an act for people just to get your name out there more.
Yeah, definitely. So I've done a lot of things. When I was in college, I did a lot of things like that. I did my own show a few times when I was on campus, and which was fun, and I definitely learned a lot of my friends there. And now kind of how the college circuit works is you kind of there's a big college fair, and you have to kind of submit your video to either agents or to the colleges directly, and then the colleges decide if they like you or not. And that's kind of how the whole college booking side works. So that's kind of the side I've been trying to get into now, because I feel like while I was in college, I was able to have opportunities to perform. And I did a night with Mikayla Oz. I did just a ton of open things. I was really involved with the stand-up comedy club, and they got me. It was really cool with them because they were pretty open-minded about what comedy looked like. And so they would let me do magic and comedy. And so I got a lot of opportunities through them, whether that be emceeing the shows or whether that being the headliner or different events like that. So, I mean, if anybody out there is in college right now, I would definitely try all these different opportunities. Open mic nights are another good way to meet people and try out new material. My goal always when I was doing an open mic night is that I would each week, at Iowa State, it was every other week, so every 2 weeks. They would do, weeks. And each open mic night, I tried to do a whole new set. I tried to do it with new tricks and new things, so it was really a challenge for myself to go up there week after week after week and try out new material and see what worked and see what didn't. And then after about 8 weeks, I would rotate the material back through. So
that you have to have a lot of material to do that.
Yeah, exactly. So I went through a lot too, and there was a ton that I wanted to try out that was just completely garbage. And I think I kind of figured out who I was as a person because of that, and how I want to be portrayed on stage. So it was definitely rewarding. So if anybody out there, I know a lot of people who listen to this do a lot of cards and things like that. But a good way to kind of get your foot in the door, and maybe if you are interested in performing in front of a group of people, would be to maybe try out an open mic night. I know lots of towns, big or small, a lot of college towns have open mic nights. So definitely just maybe bring 5 or 10 minutes, and it doesn't have to be perfect. Open mic nights are great because they allow you to be bad.
Right.
So, and that's how you grow.
Yeah, I think that's great advice, and I think it will definitely get people used to just performing in front of people as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Lance Burton, so I was a huge Lance Burton fan growing up as a kid. Like that was the whole, like he was the guy who did the thing with the whole candles and the doves, and that was like my inspiration when I was a child. And he has a book that's called Advice, and he only gives it out to people when he meets them in person.
Very cool.
And it's kind of a little like secret book. Not a lot of people actually. And in that book, he talks about having a Hamburg. And a Hamburg is essentially like having a place where you can go and be bad. The Beatles performed their Hamburg in Germany. It was Hamburg, Germany. And it was the place where it was a bar where they could just go every single night and do the same set over and over and over again. And they could figure out who they were. And Lance Burton had that. And I believe him and Matt King had a show together. And
Very cool.
They did their show every single night, and that's kind of how they developed their character and who they are. And so I guess that's kind of the place I'm at right now, is I'm trying to find that place where I can perform. if you ask any magician, or any working magician, I should say, if they like how to get better, I think the number one thing you would hear from them is perform as much as you can. So
yeah, we actually have a couple of really good questions that just got put up. One of them is from Severus Lupus, and it's how do you deal with hecklers or just jerks at your shows?
Yeah. So that's a really good question. So how do you deal with hecklers at a show? I think the number one, so I deal a lot with this, especially within comedy clubs. And the number one thing, at least I found, is if you call them out right, sure, you can interact with them at first and maybe try to make light of the situation. But if there becomes a point where they're becoming overpowering or overbearing, then just stop the show and call them out. Because most of the time, everybody else around them isn't going to, or isn't going to like that they're heckling you in the first place, and they're going to see that this person is causing a scene, and they'll try to shut them up too. But if it becomes a show, I don't want to stop my show, but this is a problem, and 9 times out of 10, it'll stop.
Yeah, it makes sense. Usually the hecklers are the same as the bullies. They don't like to be bullied themselves, so by confronting them with it, they will usually back off there, which is an interesting concept. I'm not one to say, I've never been up on stage, but I can see that dynamic definitely working there.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, it's kind of, you have to show that you're the one in control, and you're the one who is on stage, and people are there to be part of your experience that you're giving others. So if you can just take control just for that brief second, I think the audience will get more, or they will respect you a bit more because they'll show that you're serious about what you're doing. And B, I think that heckler, whether they're drunk or maybe mentally, or maybe they have some kind of mental disability or something like that, then I think that there's a ton of different ways the situation could be handled. So
yeah, it definitely makes sense.
Yeah.
I think one of the cool things too about that whole dynamic there is, if you're really doing something that you love, other people's opinions don't really matter on that. So a heckler shouldn't impact you in a way where you have to get defensive, or you get, or you buy into what they're selling there. You're doing what you love because you love it. You're glad other people can enjoy it, but their heckling makes no difference, hopefully.
Yeah. Something I do. So oh shoot, where was I at? I was performing at the Chicago Magic Lounge, and there was a person, I think in the second row, who said, "Oh, I know how you did that. I know how you did that. I know how you did that." And so then I was doing the trick, and a couple times they're like, "Oh yeah, I know how you did that." And so then I started poking back at them, and I would be like, "Ooh, do you know how I did that? Ooh, do you know how I did that?" And just by me acknowledging that they know how, or that they might know how it works, then that shut them up. So, and just kind of poking them.
I think Chris Ramsey actually has a video on how to do a trick on hecklers, the hecklers that know every trick that you're doing. You kind of you bait them into a trick, and everybody around you kind of use people around them to kind of just make a fool out of the person.
It makes sense. I mean, again, confronting them with their own heckling and turning it on them is interesting.
Can I show you guys a good trick for that?
Sure, absolutely.
The only problem is, Mikayla, is the video's not working.
So we're pretty much.
Oh, the video's not working.
It's relatively laggy, so we're almost all audio here.
Oh, geez. I'm so sorry.
No, it's not your fault. It's definitely an issue on my end here. I think my CPU is a little overtaxed here, so for next show we know, switch to GPU rendering.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I won't show you that then, but there's a really cool trick. I have a mentor, his name's Steve Daly, and he does this trick. It's with a deck of cards, and he gets people to really focus in on what he's doing, and he starts it off by, if there's a heckler, he'll ask them, "Wait, how does this look?" And he'll show a move, like a double lift, and he'll make it really bad and really sloppy, and then he'll put the card back and he'll be like, "How about now? How does it look? Did it look better that time?" and then like you turn it over and you still show like it was 2 cards, and then you say, wait, okay, I'll do it one last time, and you do pretend what is a double lift, and when you turn it over, the whole deck is turned over, and so you're like, oh, how many cards did I turn over? They'll be like, oh, I think that was 2, and they'll be like, no, that was actually the whole deck, and
That is super cool.
kind of a fun way to mess with somebody.
That is super
That's cool.
Yeah. You know.
Yeah, I'm sure there's definitely different ways to make them look even foolisher than they already look by heckling you, you know?
Exactly. Yeah, that was a good question. Thanks for asking.
Yeah, for sure. That was Lee. Now, you were talking about your journey before, like just how you've had like, a journey from when you started out to where you are now, and I think you have so many cool stories, that just goes with your act. But like, what, one of the things that drawn me to you, or what's the word I'm looking for?
Drew me
to you. Is I'm a big fan of just like mental health and activism and stuff like that. And tell us a little bit about the journey that you kind of have gone on. And
yeah, definitely. So so for those of you who don't know, I'm transgender, and it might be a big word for some of you guys, but here, let me explain. So when I was like as early as I can remember, I always knew that something was off. I always knew that I was a girl, and I don't know why I felt like that, but it's just how I felt. And then when I was 18, I finally was able to, I moved out of my parents' house, and I was finally able to transition and become the person that I am today. And I really try to talk about that in such an important way, because I feel like transgender people are definitely, or really anybody who is in a marginalized community, a lot of people just don't understand. There's so much lack of information, and people might have one perspective of what that thing is, but they might not know the full picture. So like, for example, I am a transgender woman. I'm a trans woman. And when people think of somebody who's like a trans woman, they typically think of a man in a dress. And I'm very clearly not a man in a dress. And so I guess I try to really, and even in my show, when I do my stand-up comedy, I kind of poke fun at that, and I say, I talk about what it's like being transgender and what it's like kind of my journey has been. And I think it's so cool that I have an opportunity to share what I've been going through with everybody. And I think it's important to talk about. I don't think everybody is the right person to talk about it, but I think for me, I feel like I have a pretty good understanding of how to communicate that with others. And that's kind of what I've been recently trying to push. So, and kind of try to talk about more in my show. I don't talk about it in all of my shows, but I've been trying to put together a new show. It's called Trans Tricks with Mikayla Oz. And
very cool.
It's a show that I'm gonna be doing actually at the Indianapolis Fringe Festival in August. I was supposed to be doing it in St. Louis next week, so I've been kind of just dabbling it and getting it out there. I did a version of the show at the Chicago Magic Lounge last year, and it's just a show that kind of makes light of what something I've gone through and relates it back to everyone else. So I think it's important to kind of have people get a grasp of what I'm going through and have it relate back to them and how it can relate to their own story.
Yeah. So you've basically gone through the magic community both as, let's say, male and female, right? Is that
in a sense, yeah, correct.
Have you noticed, being treated differently when you were male to female? Like, do you notice a difference?
Oh, definitely. So I was, where was I? So prior to me transitioning, I've always been really active in the magic community. At least I tried to be. My parents didn't have a ton of money, but they tried to support me in all the ways that I could. And I remember going, just hanging out with magicians and showing them moves and showing them different things I was working on. I knew originally, before I transitioned, everybody was like pretty impressed with everything, and like I had respect. And before I transitioned, I actually appeared in like a couple of national newspapers for a show or for an act that I was working on, and
Cool.
I definitely had a lot of accolades, and people kind of took me seriously. And then after I transitioned, it's definitely been kind of, I've had to punch my way through a bit more. I've had to show people, hey, look, I'm still the same person. I'm still talented, but now instead of when people meet me, it's almost like there's a like bias that just because I'm a woman, they're not gonna think I'm as talented as the other male magicians who were in the room. So an experience. It was so funny. I was actually I'm not gonna say which magic shop, but I was in New York, and I was doing, I went to a magic shop there, and there were two magicians behind the counter. One of the magicians knew who I was because they saw me on Instagram and they followed me on Instagram. And then the other magician had no idea who I was. And I was with my mom, and he comes up and he goes, "Hi, ladies. Do you guys need help looking for magic? Who are you shopping for?" And and I was like, and my mom was like, "Oh yeah, we're just shopping for her. She's looking for some magic." And then the guy asked me, he goes, "Oh, do you have a child who's into magic?" And I was like, "No, I'm the one who's into magic."
What?
And,
Yeah, that's crazy. That's absolutely crazy.
And yeah, and he was like, oh, and then the other guy comes up and he goes, "You haven't seen her on Instagram?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah." So
He must have felt like an idiot.
Yeah, that was kind of a unique situation.
Dude, that's
Yeah.
definitely interesting to see the perception change there, and obviously you've had the experience firsthand to really see it both ways, which is hopefully has made you stronger throughout it all, though.
Oh, definitely. It's definitely shifted my perspective on a lot of things, and it's definitely made me a lot stronger as a person. So.
Nice.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. Let's see. I think we have another question here. So this is from Ruth. Ruth actually sent in a few questions.
Cool. Wait, like Ruth that you guys interviewed
Yes.
a while
Yeah.
back? Oh,
Ruth
yeah.
Gaikema.
Cool.
Yeah, she's amazing. She's actually going to be on the show again. So,
Sweet.
yeah, because we had technical difficulties the first time. So,
Uh-huh.
So one of her questions that she asked was, "Who inspires you the most?"
Oh my goodness, that's such a big question.
Yeah.
I'm inspired by so many different things. Magic wise,
Mhm.
I think I'm very inspired by Jeff Hobson. He takes on this persona of being a very flamboyant character, and he's an illusionist, and he's hilarious. Love Jeff Hobson.
Nice.
I was definitely very inspired by Lance Burton as a child, and obviously I figured out that style didn't suit me, but I admired the dedication that goes into doing what he's done. Outside of magic, Bo Burnham, the stand-up comedian.
Yes,
He's fantastic. I like.
He,
I hope to someday have that kind of show.
now he was on. Was it? He was on one of the talent shows. What show was he on? America's Got Talent or The Voice or something like that.
Oh, I'm not sure. I guess I didn't know that. I all I know is he's had a couple Netflix specials. So.
Let me see. I think he was on. I'm gonna look this up. Bo Burnham.
Go.
Let's see. Good old Wikipedia. Yeah, I don't know. I'll find out.
Oh, no worries. I think he started off on YouTube, if I'm not wrong. But then he kind of.
Right. You're totally right. It was YouTube, and he was just doing stuff in his dorm, right?
Yeah, that sounds right.
Which is awesome.
So fun. He's so funny. That dude.
Oh, he's hilarious. And then Steve Martin. If you've watched some of his older stuff, or he has his book Born Standing Up, which is a fantastic read. He has some really solid advice, and just him as a character and kind of being different than every other magician was really inspiring to see.
So what kind of
Yeah,
gave
for
you the
sure.
idea to combine the magic and comedy into a cohesive routine there? Because I think a lot of times you see some magicians will pull the comedy to at least hook the audience immediately, but you really have like a healthy mix of comedy and magic in your entire show.
Yeah. So I think there's been a ton of magicians who've combined comedy and magic, so that's nothing new to me. But I think kind of my approach lately has been setting up the magic with comedy and with like a little like comedy monologue before everything starts,
Okay.
and then keeping that comedy going throughout the routine. So that's kind of been my approach to it. But I know a lot of people have like the whole like, oh, hold out your hand, your clean one, ha ha ha, like that kind of stuff. That stuff is not me.
Right. Yeah, I mean, definitely.
I kind of make stuff fresh a bit. So
Yeah, it's pretty cool actually going through your YouTube and just seeing, some of the tricks that you kind of show people in like a comedic way. It's like,
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, like so kind of with the whole if you go through like my Instagram at Mikayla Oz, you can see you can see a little bit of kind of what I've done, you get a brief like feeling of how my brain works when I think about magic. And I'm very one of the things that kind of one of the videos that really blew up was I did a whole multiplying balls routine, and where the balls appear and disappear. And that video blew up, and the thing that I think really caught most people's attention was the fact that when I filmed that video, I filmed it as if in my head I was on stage. So I'm very expressive and I have a lot of facial expressions, and it's almost like the magic's happening to me instead of me doing the magic. And
right.
Very cool.
um, that's been kind of, and I think that caught a lot of people off guard, and a lot of people's like, oh, why is she having so many exaggerated facial expressions? And I mean, I think it was something that, because when people think of a woman, they think of somebody who's supposed to be pretty and somebody who's supposed to be not funny and somebody who's supposed to be all elegant when they do magic. Whereas I think during a couple of those videos, I kind of broke that mold a little bit, and I could be funny and have show facials and react and kind of break that norm and push the line a little bit. And I think that just caught people off guard.
Very cool.
Yeah, I mean, I think what we're used to seeing is we're used to seeing females all dressed up nice and like in these tight little clothes, like tight little shorts and
Right.
shirts, and they're actually the ones that like they're doing like the Vanna White of magic. They're like
Yeah, exactly.
kind of pulling aside the blade or like whatever they're doing. They're usually
Uh-huh.
not the ones doing the magic. So,
Exactly.
you know, yeah,
Yeah.
it's kind of
I kind of try. What's her name? Is it Carol Burnett? I think. Yeah. Like I try to be kind of more of the Carol Burnett or the who's another good example. I can't think of another one, but just kind of push that line of like I'm not gonna be on stage and be this little like, and I'm not a little dainty person either. I'm about 6 foot, and so I'm tall and I have kind of lanky, and I just look kind of awkward because I have super long legs and this short little torso. I'm just not your conventional person, I guess.
that's awesome.
So I use that to my advantage.
And I think
That's
that
cool.
shows through too. Just looking at your Instagram at like some of your performance pictures and everything, the not only the smile on the audience faces, but the smile on your face. You can tell how much like really the passion is passing through there, which I think is such an exceptional thing to see when people are not only happy, but you're happy to see that reaction there, which is so cool.
Definitely. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I love being excited. Magic makes me so excited, and I love talking about it. It's literally my life. I do it full time, and so whenever I have the opportunity to share it with people, I eat it up. I love it. It's so exciting.
Nice.
Right on. You can tell you're excited about it, and that's amazing. To see someone who's just so in love with their art, you know.
So one question I have for you related to magic is, I guess, what kind of drew you to stage magic versus street magic? I think a lot of times now we see a lot more street magicians performing more so than stage magicians. But what enticed you to the stage more so than the street?
Funny fact. Well, first off, the first magician that I ever saw was a stage magician, and they did big fancy illusions, and made people appear and disappear and cut people in half. So I think this idea, my first introduction to magic was magic is supposed to be performed on stage, and that's kind of what I started off by doing. And then I've always just like I feel more comfortable, weirdly enough, on stage in front of 200 people than I do in front of maybe 4 or 5 people. I just feel more at home and on stage, and I don't know where that stems from, but I feel I can have. I think it's a cool experience to have 200 people encapsulated by what I'm doing or laughing at what I'm doing, than to have maybe 1 or 2 people doing that. So I always kind of just like the whole stage thing, and theater which is what magic is. It takes people takes people to another place, and that's what I try to do with my magic. I try to take them out of their own little world to mine, and I think magic can do that as well. But I think I like doing that with 200 people instead of 3 or 4 people.
That's so cool.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's really awesome.
I do a lot of close-up magic as well, though. As you can see through my Instagram and stuff like that, I have like a couple restaurant gigs that I do every single week. But I prefer stage magic and comedy and
very cool
being on stage. So yeah.
So one of the questions that came in through the chat from Lee was, and I think this kind of fits with the close-up versus stage, was, what's your favorite magic trick to perform?
Oh, man. Oh, geez.
I feel like we're dropping heavy ones here tonight.
Yeah, well, like that's like one of those things that's like, it's like asking you to pick your favorite kid, you know?
Okay.
Like,
hey, let's be honest. Parents definitely have favorite kids.
They just don't say it out loud, right?
My sister and I know who my mom's favorite kid is.
That's fine.
Let's see. My favorite trick as of lately, I don't know. I like a lot of my newer things, like a lot of the things that are, because a lot of the stuff I do, I've been doing for a couple years now, and like it's become part of my working set, and which I love to do. There's a reason it's in my working set. But sometimes I get really excited when I have the opportunity to perform a new trick for someone, because it brings back all of those nerves and that excitement, and that you're not sure if it's going to go right. So I kind of been playing around with that. I've been playing around, if we're talking about close-up magic, I've been playing around for about the past year or so with a trick where I have someone think of a card, and then their phone, and then I go to their Instagram, and I do this all on their borrowed phone, and I shake their phone, and the Instagram grid morphs into their card, and then I shake it, and it morphs back into the regular Instagram grid, and I can hand the phone right back, and then
what?
That sounds crazy.
Yeah, I wish I could show it to you right now, because I could if it wasn't so blurry.
Yeah.
You know what? You'll have to show it on Instagram and send it to us. That way we'll.
Yeah, we'll definitely check it out, because this sounds amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, I filmed the original version of it actually, and it's on Instagram, but it's come a lot further along since that version. That was literally like that was like after 6 months of working on it, and it's come a long way since then.
Very cool.
So,
yeah, you should do the new one and post it in your story, and then tag deckinaround, and we'll share it.
Heck yeah, cool, thanks.
You know, because I'm sure everyone would love to see it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, if you go back, I think it was probably last March around then when I was in a yellow sweater and it was with a deck of cards and a phone. So you can see that I'll try to film the
So it looks like we're getting a little audio glitching here, but I'm going to see if I can tweak that so we're a little bit better there. But
okay.
But so I guess, having said, obviously stage magic really drew you into the whole magic community there. What would you say to an aspiring magician on the kind of the difference or the benefits to one versus the other? I know for you it's mostly the draw of the large crowd, but how would you kind of inspire someone to pick one or the other, or even just to go with whatever they feel?
Yeah, well, first off, I wouldn't tell someone to do either stage magic or close-up magic. I consider myself more of like a general practitioner, if you would say. I dabble in a little bit of everything because I think that makes me more of a well-rounded performer. And I think there's things you can learn by doing close-up magic that you can apply to the stage and vice versa. So I don't know if I would necessarily tell someone to pick one or the other, but I would encourage everyone to try close-up magic and maybe try doing stage magic. One thing there's this thing called the Bill Riley Talent Show. It's the biggest talent show in the state of Iowa, and you could go around and these different talent shows. And I think there was one year where I won like 12 different ones, and then you could compete at the Iowa State Fair, which is the biggest or one of the biggest fairs in the country.
That's really cool.
And then I competed in that, and I think I was a runner-up in that when I was like 12 years old. So that was cool.
That's awesome.
That is awesome.
So definitely try it off. Get out of your comfort zone. If you're comfortable being up on stage, maybe try close-up magic. Or if you're comfortable doing close-up magic, maybe try stage magic. So I think the best way to become a well-rounded performer or a well-rounded just magician or cardist is, even for the people who do cardistry, maybe try some magic. And I think there's things you can learn by doing magic that you wouldn't learn from doing cardistry, or there's things I could learn by doing cardistry, which is why I dabble in that just a little bit too. So
okay.
Yeah, I think if you mush them all together, it just makes your show even better, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, there's actually a couple questions on here. First thing is, what's your favorite color change to do with cards?
To do with cards? Oh man. Oh wow, that's a good question. Let's see. I've been working on a pass, or like I have a pretty decent pass. I wish I could show you because it's like I'm kind of proud of it. But let's see. One of my it's not necessarily an actual move, but I've been getting really good reactions with a mental photography deck. And if you don't know what that is, it's a deck where you can show all the cards to be normal, and then instantly they all change to blank. And
Oh, wow.
for an audience member or for somebody who's watching magic, that looks like pure magic to them because they just saw all these cards and then it instantly changes into a blank deck, and it's super visual. So
That's cool.
also I do a lot with the top change, so I have a pretty decent top change, and I like using a top change to switch out cards and have the change happen in the spectator's hand. So
Very cool.
Yeah, I've been practicing the APS spread from Alex Pandrea.
okay, cool.
That thing's
Not familiar exactly with that one, but
yeah, it's pretty cool. It's it's literally takes a second to do it, but for me, it's just getting used to the move. It's not difficult at all. It's just working it over and over, right? Practice.
definitely.
Yeah.
Or what's the other nowadays it's called like the shapeshifter, but what's the original name for it? I know I'm pretty sure Marlowe created it, but nowadays it's referred to as the shapeshifter change. I have quite a few like subtleties that I can use for that change to make it look less like a flick and more like an actual instant change. So
cool. There's so much magic out there. It's like it's crazy.
Hmm. Yeah,
What?
Magic's one of the most well documented like art forms out there. So at least in like the over time.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. What's your favorite deck to perform with?
Oh, so my go-to deck is actually the Tally-Ho Circlebacks. I love the Tally-Ho Circlebacks.
Nice.
I
What
don't
color?
know. I like the red ones.
Nice, nice.
Oh,
I'm a blue fan.
They're generic, but I mean, I think they're nice. I don't think like they're a deck that the audience still recognizes, so they don't. It doesn't look like a trick deck.
Right. Do you feel like you like the audience when you are using kind of like a custom-ish deck? Do you feel like they're like kind of skeptical
I
about
think
what's going on?
I think so. I think not a lot of people, or at least a lot of people, when they think of cards, they think of red and blue cards, and they think of typically like the red bikes. And
Yeah.
I think if you're using something a little bit different, I think it's hard. I also think it's a lot harder for the audience to appreciate a different, or like to appreciate the amount of work that goes into maybe a specialty deck. So I think immediately when you're doing a magic trick with what looks like to be like a specialty deck of cards, then it just looks like it could be gimmicked.
Makes sense.
Right.
Yeah. Probably also provides some distraction.
Which is kind of shitty because there's so much art in cards, but I mean, unless somebody was super passionate about that and explained that to the spectator and about why they should appreciate this, then I don't know. I think it would be hard for the spectator to not think it's a gimmick deck.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. Hey, Tyler, didn't you have another question that was kind of
So yes, I do have a I have a Kyle question here. So we'll go with Kyle's question for the night. So
we have a weekly Kyle question, and he's online in the chat. So
All right, Kyle, bring it. Let's go.
I have a feeling this is going to become a new segment, questions by Kyle. So
Here
Yeah,
we
exactly.
go.
Kyle's question for this week is: doesn't expecting the unexpected make the unexpected the expected?
Well, wait, say that one more time.
Doesn't expecting the unexpected make the unexpected the expected?
Whoa, that's deep. Good for you, Kyle. Way to think of that question. Let's start there. Let's dive into this for a second.
right?
So
Yeah,
just
exactly.
Expecting the unexpected.
Does expecting the
Is that-
unexpected make the unexpected the expected?
Ooh, I was expecting the unexpected. Make the. We'll just go with yes.
All right. There you go.
Good answer.
Kyle also had a good drop in chat here. He said, we need to get Mikayla a Hinode deck, which is a deck that actually Kyle designed, which is a Japanese-inspired deck, and it's a very cool-looking deck.
Oh, sick. That sounds awesome. Yeah.
So we will get Kyle we'll figure out the logistics on that one. I know Kyle, it's a phenomenal deck. He has another deck in the works soon, so I know we're all excited to see that as well, but yeah, probably not.
Shout out to you,
Yeah.
Kyle.
Probably not great for
Kyle.
a magic trick because it is a custom deck, but fun for showing off, fun for fanning, things like that.
Heck
Yeah.
yeah. Sweet. I'm excited to check that
Nice.
Heck yeah.
So, and I guess I had
So-
I had one other question here too that came in that was a little bit asked and answered as to the card collecting part of it. But when you think of playing cards, are you more drawn to more modern cards or more some of the vintage or antique cards that are out there?
I guess I'm more drawn to personally, I'm more drawn to modern cards just because I don't know. It's kind of what I've become accustomed to. I'm not a huge card person. I know a bit about cards and I know kind of the quality and I know what to look for in cards. But I guess I'm more drawn to kind of a bit more of the more modern look. If I was to go with a specialty deck of cards, I kind of like the looks of like the Verts or the Fontaines.
Okay.
Versus, but I think, I guess I like the, what's it called, the Nuggets, or what's it called?
Jerry's Nuggets,
Jerry's
yeah.
Nuggets. Which I don't know. I guess they reproduce those, so I guess I don't know where those exactly fall. But
Those are
yeah,
casino
yeah,
deck.
uh-huh.
Yeah.
So, but I like the look of them. I like the simplicity of the designs. So that's kind of what I'm drawn to. I also like the Nox for the look of them. I just like how basic they are. I don't think they're a deck that holds up over time. At least in my playing with, but
That is like Steve's
I like.
go-to deck there, and
I'm a huge fan. I'm a huge fan
but
of
he'll
Nox.
agree with you on
Oh
the
no,
durability part of it. So
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I mean, they're $6 to $10, so you can't really complain, right?
exactly.
they are a
Yeah.
good-looking deck though, and they are very upfront and honest about what they are.
Exactly. I like that.
So how much for you? I guess a lot of it too. Then you're not probably relying on card tricks. You're kind of running through a lot of different types of tricks. So I know you mentioned one of your more popular videos was the multiplying balls, which I think I did see the video for that too, and it was the facial expression and everything really drew the watcher in, which was very cool. What sort of what sort of prop would you say is your favorite to work with?
My favorite prop. I really, from an early age, I fell in love with the whole manipulation side of magic.
Okay.
And just because I was inspired by people like Lance Burton, and I think kind of when I was getting into magic, it was drilled in my head that I should have an act, and I should have a 12-minute act that could take me around the world, essentially, because that's what a lot of people were doing at the time. But so I guess I like a lot of I like cards for like manipulation. I've never posted a card manipulation video, but I should, because I'm not too shabby. I love the multiplying balls. I'm always working with those. So always creating or trying to come up with new routines and do it to music, and that really fascinates me. Also, I love rubber bands.
Okay.
So I have a couple like unique rubber band things that are pretty unique to me. So, yeah.
Very cool.
Nice. Do you ever use mark decks, or do you stay away from those, or?
No. So I used let's see, which deck is my? There's a mark deck that came out I think it's the penguin one, the penguin mark deck.
Okay.
Oh, the Emperor.
Is possibly it's the one that's it's made out of like the mandolin backs, I think is what it is, but
It's all white, right? All white with some black, and has two penguins.
No. The like the deck that Penguin Magic came out
Okay.
with. I know they still
Oh.
and it looks very similar to like a regular Bites deck, but it's like out of the mandolin pattern, and the marking is like really super obvious, so even from a little distance you can see where it is. Also, the Boris Wild mark deck is a nice one.
Very cool.
The which one?
The Boris Wild mark deck.
Oh, okay.
We'll have to take a look at that one.
Yeah. It's kind of pricey, but it's another nice mark deck.
It seems like a lot more marked
Yeah.
decks are becoming available for custom decks as well. You see a lot of trying to think like the was it the Paisley deck that's marked, and like a lot of decks now are coming out that are marked, or even the Fort Knox were marked, which I didn't realize. I watched a video on that the other day, which I thought was interesting.
Most of the Nox are mocked, actually.
Yeah, at least for suit, right?
Yeah, I heard about that.
For suit, yeah, but it's really hard. I mean, you have to like put your face up to the card to recognize it. I mean, I do it.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah, I watched that video. I couldn't figure out where the marking was completely.
It's basically like each corner represents a suit,
Okay.
and then whatever corner is rounded, that's the suit of the card.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, but it's hard to tell which one's rounded and which one's pointed.
yeah, unless you're really like used to seeing it, or you have an opportunity to get close to the card, which I think putting your face right up to the deck of cards gives it away a little bit.
Yeah, definitely.
Right. For sure.
Very cool. So, what sort of tricks would you say an amateur magician really looking to get into it? What would you recommend as a first time prop for them? Would it be a deck of cards because they're accessible? Would it be, foam balls, something like that?
Definitely. Deck of cards is a great way to get started. especially for me when I was younger. I did a lot of card tricks. Also coins, dollars, things that are pretty relatable, things that people understand. I'm trying to think. The very first, one of the first tricks I learned was, have you ever seen the coin through handkerchief?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Where you have the coin and it goes underneath the handkerchief and then it passes through the center. That's actually, and you'd be surprised. I've done it in the real world because nobody does it anymore. But I do it in the for real people, and you'd be surprised how good of a reaction that actually gets. So, coin tricks are good. Coins, cards, dollar bills. Start there. So,
do you notice that that a lot of the older tricks aren't used anymore in general, or is it just stuff with the handkerchief or pulling rabbits out of a hat, or is there any old tricks other than that the handkerchief and coin that you kind of like to use every once in a while just to bring it back? Or
okay, so it's funny you bring that up. So Penguin recently brought out Penguin Magic. So I noticed Penguin is very good at taking tricks that have been around for forever and then repackaging them into something new, and or something that looks new. So something that's been out for forever is something they have something called the tic-tac-toe prediction on their website right now, and it's where you are able to predict what the audience has been, or you play a game of tic-tac-toe with them and you're able to predict the outcome. And they're selling this as this new, cool, current thing, and this trick has been out for forever. It was found in Martin Gardner's book of impromptu magic that was brought out in the 70s. And I've been doing that for I think about 7 or 8 years now. So, or at least I used to do it more than I do now. And so when I saw that, I was like, oh, sweet, this is just Martin Gardner's mathematical trick that was in the impromptu magic book. And I was like, man, they're just rebranding it. So yeah, I think people nowadays, everything is being turned into a download, and which is cool because now all these old tricks are being shown to a new generation of magicians, or being shown to people who aren't really into the details and don't like doing the research into magic like I do. So I think that's cool for them, and I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with that. But there's so much magic in some of the older books I love reading, and that's how I got started in magic. So definitely encourage everybody to pick up a book, but I know some people are definitely very visual learners. So.
Right. Yeah. Now, what do you think about, for instance, Penguin Magic or any of these other companies coming out with tricks that or magic that have already been produced, but yet they're creating it and basically saying it's somebody else doing it, so basically kind of not giving props to the originator and the one who created it. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, you definitely need to you need to show credit where credit's due, and I think it's one thing to say it's one thing to come up with a whole new trick, but if it was inspired by another trick, I think it's important to give that credit to that other trick it was inspired by, and show that thinking. So I've been working on a new, the classic, silk to egg, which is a super old trick, and I've been working on a new way to do it. I don't want to go into the details of it, but it doesn't use a silk or an egg.
All right.
And I would if I were to ever release it, which I don't know if I ever would, because it's still such in its adolescence right now, but I would definitely do all my homework on where it started and kind of give the background of how the silk to egg came to be and how that inspired me to get to where I am now. So
right. Yeah, I think that's important, giving props to the people that originated things that is in your kind of repertoire, instead of doing something and renaming it to shapeshifter, like what is it actually called? You know what I mean? Like, for the most part, it's still the same move. You might flick it a little different or whatever. It's but I definitely give props.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do Wayne Houchin's, or I do a version of Wayne Houchin's like French Kiss, which is where you sign a card and your spectator signs a card, and then they touch the ends of the cards. You put it in their mouth, and then they switch places.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I do.
Is it like a sign? Is it a sign card?
Yep, it's a sign card, and I do a version of that, but I do it with name tags, and I don't fold them up or put them in their mouth. I just do it that way. And so if I were to ever release something like that, I would definitely give credit to Wayne Houchin with his French Kiss, and he probably gives credit in that trick to other people who came before him. So.
Right. Yeah, because I know Shin Lim does one like that too.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So how?
Who's your favorite?
Go ahead, Steve.
Go ahead. No, I've been asking like the last 10 questions.
So I know what your next question is, so keep it definitely on the burner there. I was going to ask Mikayla, like you mentioned that you're kind of working on a new trick. How long does it usually take you to develop to be stage ready from start to finish trick? Is it like months of practice? Is it potentially years?
Every trick's different. Everything, like it just depends. Sometimes if I'll try to develop an idea, and sometimes I find my best ideas come when I'm on stage actually doing it.
Okay.
So maybe if an idea, I have the idea, but the routine's not completely there, then sometimes just when I'm in the moment, something sparks and I like the way it sounds, or I like the way I did something to progress the routine. So I try to get routines up pretty quick. I kind of like to try stuff out. And I've noticed sometimes if I'll get burnt out on an idea, and I'll keep it in my notes in my phone, and then I'll get burnt out on the idea, and then I'll come back to it in maybe 6 months if I get too tired of it.
Okay.
So.
Do you ever collaborate with other magicians on stuff, or?
Like on videos, or what do you mean?
I mean, it could be videos, it could be other magic tricks that you're working on, or that person's working on, or yeah.
Definitely, I think having a community of people that you can kind of brainstorm with is very, very important. So I have my close niche of like friends who do magic and who are just within the entertainment industry that I bounce ideas off of all the time. So yeah, I don't know if I necessarily like when I think of collaborate, I think of like, oh, we're gonna do this trick together. Whereas I don't really do that. I have more so people who kind of know how I perform and my style, and I know what their style is, and then we just kind of feed off of each other, and we're like, oh, what if you did it like this, or what if you did it like this, and it just becomes a big jam session, you know?
That's super cool.
Yeah, totally. That is cool.
And actually, speaking of jam session, every year I produce a magic convention for magicians, and it's called Abracorndabra. And my mentor, his name's Steve Daly, he is the one who kind of started it, and I'm kind of taking it over once he decides that he's can't take it or can't continue it. So I co-produced this magic convention, and this year we're bringing in Jim Steinmeier, which he's the guy who created the Vanishing Statue of Liberty. We're also bringing in Alex Ramon. This is our 10-year anniversary. We're bringing in what else are we bringing? We're bringing in Joseph Gabriel, who does a whole bird act. We're bringing in all kinds of cool people, and it's in Des Moines, Iowa, and it's limited to strictly 200 people.
Oh, wow.
So last year
when is that?
And it's May. Let's see. I think this coming year. Let me tell you. This coming year it will be May. I believe it's May 15th through the 17th.
Very cool.
So, yeah, definitely, it's a lot of fun. If you've never been to a magic convention, it's a really cool place where you can hang out with other magicians and kind of bounce ideas off of each other and show magic and just kind of do something that you love. And we also have a ton of people who are into cardistry and into all kinds of different things that are kind of magic and entertainment related. So not just magicians.
That's cool. It sounds like you're pretty involved with the community, not just performing, but trying to better the community and bring magic to more people, you know?
I really tried to. Yeah, I think it's important because I want to give back to the next generation. I think I love watching all these. I think there's so many people who hate on Instagram and hate on social media for doing magic. But I think nowadays social media is where a lot of these new ideas are coming from and a lot of these new performers are kind of starting at. And I think it's important to support them just like you would somebody who necessarily doesn't do magic for social media. So it's just a whole new kind of magic. And I love just supporting the next generation of magicians because somebody supported me and that's how I've got to where I'm at. So
Right. Now, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
What do you think about magic today compared to magic 25 years ago, where it was kind of like a no-no to share magic and like do tutorials, and you know, it was really kind of forbidden to show magic and how it's done, where nowadays you can literally go online and find how any trick is done.
Mm-hmm. I think I've had this conversation with a couple people, and I think when you listen to this argument, I think you'll hear a couple different sides of the story. You'll hear people you'll hear the older generation who says, you shouldn't be revealing those tricks, you know? But then you hear the younger generation where that's how they actually got into magic. So I definitely think magic is at a place, but I think the whole world is at a place where anybody can Google anything.
Yeah.
Right.
You know? But I think as a magician, I think it challenges us to do better and create something new or create something different or put a different presentation to a trick. And it's challenging us to better ourselves as entertainers and as cardists and as magicians. So, and if you think about it, the only people who are looking, or the people who are trying to figure out a trick online, are the people who have some remote interest in magic. The general person wouldn't be like, oh, hey, I just want to look up how all of these tricks are done, unless they had some kind of interest in magic, you know?
Right.
And
that's true.
That's where hobbyists come from, and that's where amateur magicians come from, who are super important to the community.
Yeah, no, that's a good point for sure. I mean, that's how I kind of got into it. I was always into magic, but I never like really. I always watched like the masked magician and like all that stuff. Mm-hmm. But when it comes down to it, is like it was about a year ago, and I was just on YouTube, and I think it was a Chris Ramsey video, and I was like, oh, that looks cool. I'm gonna go out and buy a deck of cards and try it.
Yeah, good for you.
And here I am, on Deckinaround, running a card store and talking to the card community like every single day. So it's kind of So it's
pretty crazy. You gotta run with what you're passionate about.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, you gotta run with what you're passionate about and enjoy what you do, and whether it's cards, magic, or anything in life.
Mm-hmm, exactly. And there's so much. There's a ton of like terrible people out there, but there's so many good people in both the card community and the magic community, and you can find friends everywhere. So it's just another way for us to connect with each other. So I think that's beautiful.
Yeah. Very, very, very much agree with that. Kyle actually said an epic collab would be you performing with Dan Sperry.
Oh, really? Why is that? I'm curious.
Because you guys are polar opposites, he said.
Oh, yeah. Actually, he's from Minnesota and I'm from Iowa, so maybe we can make that happen.
That would be real cool.
Yeah, Kyle is a huge Dan Sperry fan, like huge.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I've met Dan once or twice at Magic Live, and he seems like a very.
That's cool. He kind of creeps me out, which is kind of cool. But
right?
That's his thing, though. So he wants to creep people out.
Exactly.
Yeah, so he has a good show because he creeps me out.
Yeah, definitely. Supposedly Dan Sperry, he's doing he has a live stream version of his show somewhere on the internet right now because of the whole coronavirus.
Uh-huh.
So definitely check that out. I know it's free somewhere, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, really?
Very cool.
Yes.
Definitely something to check out.
There you go, Kyle. Kyle probably heard about that, or you know.
If not, he's looking for it now.
I'm not sure where I saw that. I might have seen it. Maybe the Chicago Magic Lounge posted something about it. I'm not quite sure.
I'll have to check that
Cool.
out.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Where's your go-to magic store for magic stuff?
Yeah, I like, so I gotta support local. We have a shop here in Iowa called the Iowa Magic Shop. So they're about 2 hours away from where I'm at, but I'm really good friends with the owner, and the guy there is super nice, so support brick and mortar all the way. But then I also like Hocus Pocus, hocus-pocus.com, because they have a lot of unique stuff and a lot of stuff you don't typically see at all the other magic shops. So,
Yeah.
Very cool.
yeah.
Right on. Yeah. Right on. Anybody have any other last minute questions for Mikayla before we?
Ask
So
away.
I
Send her
have
off.
one last question here actually on my end. If you could do if you could do a stage show with any magician, alive or dead, who would it be?
Oh, man, hold on.
Nice.
Oh, geez, that is a good question.
That's a bomber question.
Yeah,
Dude.
I'm trying to think who would like mesh well with me, because I think I would need somebody who would be like the polar opposite of what I do.
Right. But you don't want someone to steal the show either.
Oh, jeez. What?
I said you don't want someone to steal. You don't want someone to steal the show either.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Let me think. Actually, do you know have you guys seen Ben Hart out of, I think he was just recently on America's Got Talent. But
I haven't either. I'll have to check him out.
He does kind of like storytelling magic. And I think he would be a cool, and I think he's around my age. He'd be a cool person to do a show with, just because I think our styles would definitely kind of flow well with each other.
Very cool.
That's cool.
I think Bo Burnham would also be on that dream list, just because we're both kind of out there with what we do. So.
But you're both comedy. That'd actually be a dope show. Like music
right?
with comedy and magic with
yeah.
comedy.
Hell yeah, that'd be so cool.
Yeah.
That'd be cool. You could like bring him on stage to do a trick with you.
Right? We could, our shows could definitely intertwine.
I feel like comedians
should
would have
definitely-
the best reaction to magic tricks as well.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
It depends, because sometimes the people who go to a comedy show are in the mood for just straight stand-up comedy. So it just kind of depends. Yeah.
Yeah, makes sense.
You should definitely look into something like that where you can like even if it's like a female magician tour or something like that. I don't think has anything like that been done. I think it'd be really cool to.
I don't think so, but I know there's I have a friend who works at the Phantasma Magic Shop in New York City, and he also writes a blog for them, and he's kind of looking for underground female magicians, and he's writing a blog about some of these underground like women in magic, and I know I'm going to be included in that, as well as a couple other people. So
Very cool.
It'd be cool to put together a show though that was just like kind of the women in magic.
That'd be so
Or
cool.
like the rising stars of women in magic, because there's there's a few of us that would be really good for that show.
No, that sounds like it would be an awesome
Yeah.
show.
Mhm.
You know who I think you should perform with?
Who?
Let me get her name. You can ask another question, Ty. I'm actually looking for her name.
All right. So, if you, and I know you mentioned that you're not necessarily a card collector, but when you look at like the art on cards, and I know you mentioned also, the appreciation of the art there, what do you find speaks to you mostly? Are you more of like a modern art kind of person, or more of like a traditional art? I think it's interesting to see, and I think it's one of the things that draws me personally to the art, card community is the fact that there is a deck of cards for everybody.
Yeah, I kind of like, I've always been attracted to a bit more of like the abstract designs and things that maybe there might be a story there, but there might not be, and it's kind of more up to your own like interpretation of like what everything is.
Okay, very cool.
So I kind of like looking at that, and I like reading into those kinds of things too, like reading into like, oh, why is this here, or like why is this placed here? but I can definitely appreciate a bit more of like the more well structured, well placed cards too. So.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I found her name. Her name's Kristen Lambert. Have you heard of her?
Oh, yep, I have. She won the Desert Teen Seminar like 10 years ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I feel like you guys would have a cool show because she's totally far out there too.
Uh-huh. Yeah,
She,
I know. I guess I haven't heard of her lately. So I guess that name actually surprised me a little bit because I haven't heard of her lately.
yeah, she's been doing a lot of stuff at some magic spots out in Los Angeles. What's the like Magicopolis in Santa Monica?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I know what you're talking about.
Cool.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that'd be fun to see you guys together because obviously her show's totally different than yours. But I think hers is kind of like the gothy-ish type, like.
Oh,
witchy.
is that how she's going now? I guess I didn't realize that. That's cool. Okay.
Yeah, that's definitely the direction she went in. I mean, I don't know, like you said, I don't know how she was, but yeah, she's definitely like the witchy side and kind of, that type of show rather than yours is like comedy and magic, which I think would be cool.
Kyle said a
Heck yeah.
good collab would be ECAT.
Yeah.
Yep. So yeah, Kyle said a good collab would be ECAT.
Oh yeah, ECAT. Yeah,
Yeah.
she'd be great too.
That would be a fun one. Yeah.
You guys should just get. You know what you should do? You should reach out to Murphy's, reach out to Penguin, Gamblers, reach out to all those big, big warehouses, and see if they'll sponsor a tour for all these badass women doing magic.
That would be a
Hell
sick
yeah.
show.
That
Yeah.
would be a dope show. Yeah.
Dang, that's a great idea. I should do that. That's a great idea.
Yeah, and I
Do it
I
up.
think you'd get a lot of
Reach out to me. Reach out to us. We'll definitely try to help in any way we can.
absolutely. Yeah, no, we'd
Sweet,
love to see that
thank you.
happen.
Definitely.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
so I know you mentioned the other night too when we were kind of prepping for the show and first met. You had mentioned you were moving out to Vegas soon. So
I'm moving out to Vegas in when is that? Well, tentatively, I'm planning to move out to Vegas in September.
Okay.
So I'm kind of I've lived in Iowa my whole life, and I love Iowa, and that provided me with a lot of cool opportunities. But I've been kind of looking for just to get my foot out of Iowa, and I have friends in Vegas, so I think it would be a good place to kind of start over. So I'm still going to be in the Midwest a lot, doing a lot of shows with like colleges and things like that, but it'll be a nice place to kind of make new connections. And so if you're in Vegas, definitely hit me up.
Nice.
Yeah, that's kind of my next plan.
I think that's
Actually, Lee. I think Lee is in Vegas, aren't you in Vegas, Lee?
Let's see if he's still.
I know it's gonna. Actually, he might.
Yeah, he might have dropped off, but
He might have dropped off.
yeah, but I think he is in Vegas.
And the other half of Wounded Corner is in Vegas as well.
There you go.
Cool.
Yeah.
I'll
So
have
if
to
you.
connect with-
Yeah, he's rad. His wife is an EMT there too. So hopefully you guys
sick.
hopefully you won't have to meet her on the job.
Yeah, I'm hoping not. I'm hoping
Unless
not.
you're performing magic tricks for her, then it's okay.
Right.
Exactly.
Ah.
That's for sure. Cool. Do you have anything you want to add or shout out if you have any? I mean, obviously all your shows have been canceled, so you can't really shout anything out. But if you have anything you want to plug before we let you go.
Yeah, definitely follow me on Instagram at Mikayla Oz. I haven't been posting there a lot lately just because I've been busy, but now with this whole coronavirus thing, I plan on uploading and recording some content to kind of post on there. Also, if you're on Facebook, you can find me there at Mikayla Oz Magic. My plan is to do a live stream magic show in the next week.
That would be cool.
So
That'd be awesome. Let us know. We'll share it.
Yeah.
We'll share it across our socials.
Yep.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah, we'll definitely post all of
Yeah.
your socials in the description of the video as well. So guys, definitely make sure to check that out. I think I have your Instagram and your Facebook as well as your website in there already. So yeah. So Mikayla, it's been
Everybody.
Yeah.
Well,
So
thank you guys.
I just wanted to say, no, thank you. It's been a pleasure having you on, and we're sorry that the video has been a little wonky and we had to cancel the video feed, but
Oh, you're fine.
hopefully the audio is usable. If not, we'll have to just bring you on
Yeah.
again.
Aw, dang.
I mean,
Ryan.
listen, we never mind a repeat guest, but we'd absolutely love to have you on again. I think this has been a pleasure, and I know I was looking forward to seeing some magic tonight, so I know the rest of the people are as well, so we'll probably have to bring you on anyway just for some magic tricks and some more conversation.
Yeah, yeah, let's do it. Well, thank you guys, and I look forward to possibly being back on.
Listen, there's no possibility
Sounds
about it.
awesome.
It's an absolutely. We will definitely have you on again.
Yeah. Great.
Guys,
Yes.
before we head out here, I just want to say make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and click the bell so you get notifications. I promise you next time we will have these video issues worked out, and hopefully it will be a smooth show. But thank you for tuning in, and Kyle especially, thank you for the fun questions. But we appreciate all you guys listening to the show. It's been a blast so far, and we hope to have many more shows with you guys.
Yeah, peace out, everybody. Thank you so much.
Night, everyone.